There's so much to talk about from this opening weekend of this Premier League season. Righty, for you, what did we learn?
I think that we learned that City are imperious. They're going to be what they're going to be. We learned that, I think that Liverpool, obviously coming off the Community Shield, how strong they were, and we saw an unbelievable performance from Fulham. You have to give them credit, and kind of made us look at Liverpool in a different way. You know, he was questioning their attitude, which is something I thought was really quite intense. But you know what you've learned is you know it's at the moment City were great. You know I thought Villa, people like Villa, I was very surprised. I was quite, you know, it's just like, I think it's too early for me, Kels.
Yeah.
It's too early
look,
for
this
me
is the annual qualifier that we need to give, which is that it's only one game into the season. We know that. There's only one game into the season. We can't talk about games that haven't happened yet, but did anybody surprise you on the opening weekend?
I mean, you'd have to say probably Brighton probably put in the performance of the weekend. I mean, I didn't see that coming. I thought under Ten Hag, Manchester United would come out with a different energy, different attitude, but it just seemed like the same old Manchester United. But you have to give credit to Brighton. I thought Graham Potter and his team got their tactics spot on. It could have been more, but they were, for me, they were the standout performance of this weekend. Going to Old Trafford, a place they'd never won before, to put in that type of performance on an opening day of a Premier League season, they were probably the ones that stood out for me. And
for Fulham, who've come into the Premier League, last couple of times that's happened, they've been relegated straight away, barely scored any goals. Mitrovic, question marks over him. Was he going to be able to deliver in the Premier League? Not only did they get a 2-2 draw against Liverpool, they could very easily and possibly should have won the game, and Mitrovic got 2.
Yeah, I think he'll be in a lot of people's fantasy league teams now because of that performance. I've got to say, I disagree with I expected Brighton. I think for us in the newspapers, Manchester United in these next few months actually will be a big story, because I think there's something very troubling at the core of Manchester United. And that's even before you get to Ronaldo. That's going to be a big story. Liverpool will be a big story as well. Fulham, I think, will stay up this year. I think there was a lot more about them than last time around because of what you were talking about. Mitrovic will score goals. They look more resolute. They look like they have a plan. They haven't rushed into buying lots of players like they did first time around. And I think Scott Parker's learned from the last time he was in the Premier League with them.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with all of those sides. In terms of players, you mentioned Ronaldo. Obviously, anything that he does, he's going to be focus of attention. But there was so much on Haaland, so much expectation on him. You mentioned the Community Shield. Already, people were saying, oh, it's going to take him a while, you know. He's not going to hit the ground running. We saw it against Liverpool. Welcome to the Premier League. And then he waltzes in and looks like he's been here forever.
Yeah, and I think that even when you watch the Community Shield game, there was opportunities what Man City could have put him in a few times. I think he could have scored a couple of goals in that game, or we would have definitely seen why he's there now, to break that line, for them when they get that ball in that midfield, they can go long straight into someone like him. We saw it a few occasions in the Community Shield, and when we saw it for the second goal especially. But he's somebody that's come into the league, and you genuinely feel like, yeah, something's going to happen. He's not like, oh, like unfortunately for Lukaku, is it going to? It's going to happen with this guy.
Do you know what, right? Yeah, from yesterday's game, it was partly Haaland that struck me about yesterday, but I love that celebration. Yeah. But also, there was something quite metronomic about the way that City played. It reminded me of Barcelona. They kept the ball. I mean, you, at times you felt as though you wanted to give West Ham another ball to play with, because they simply couldn't get near them, let alone stop them from feeding this boy.
Nearly 80% possession, wasn't it?
And the reason why I say it reminded me of Barcelona, because that's what they did. They kept possession, Busquets and Iniesta and all of those, and then they released Messi to do what Messi does best, and that's what City are doing.
And that's what's frightening, Kels, because now you'd have to say that now they've got that threat. They haven't had it for a long time. A player that can go like he's gone. So City can now hurt you in just out of the blue, bam, as well as not letting you touch the ball. It's going to be a tough one for teams this season.
Yeah, and it's a different proposition for City to play West Ham than it was to play Liverpool in the Community Shield, just because of the way that the two sides would set up against them. But even the improvement in Haaland, and it was, like as you said, there were plenty of signs in the Community Shield that he was going to hit the ground running. But even with that improvement in just a week, it sort of makes it seem a bit frightening as to what he's going to achieve over the course of the season. You
know, the thing is, that, and Benny would know, is that when you miss, right, like when he missed in the Community Shield, he kind of had this look on his face like, What are you doing? I've seen him score that goal before where the ball comes across and he does this acrobatic finish with his outside of his left foot. And I thought that's what he was trying to do with that first chance, which he should have headed in. And then the one that went over the bar, where he hit over the bar, it was just like, a game's over, bam. But then all during the week as a striker, when you've missed, and you're like, you wait till Saturday. You could feel that he had that vibe. And the way he took the ball for the penalty, Ben, you could feel like, he means business.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Even the one that he missed where he missed the open goal, it was almost like, that's not going to happen again. He was probably been working all week with his teammates for the supply line, but also as well, extra finishes in training where a little bit more concentration because he was ready for this game. But I think he's going to catch a lot of people by surprise, and that might sound strange because you talk about one of the world's best. But we kind of playing an era now where everyone wants to come to feet. Everything's in front of the back four. Everyone wants to come off now. A bit like Bobby Firmino, get the ball to feet and link play. He's a throwback centre forward that gets in behind all the time. And I think with defenders nowadays, they're not used to that anymore. Everything, they push up, they squeeze, and everything's to feet. If you've got a guy that's constantly running in behind, with the likes of De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, even Rodri from where he plays, if you just keep feeding it in there, even if he gets caught a couple of times offside, there's going to be a couple of times where he times it to perfection and he scores.
They scored nearly 100 goals last season, City. How many do you think they'll score this time around?
I think they get close to that number. But I think it's different now. I think for opposition centre-halves, they can't defend maybe how they did last season because they can squeeze the pitch. And even though City will keep playing the ball, there was no one really turning unless it was Raheem. When you've got someone like Haaland now, they can go back to front really a bit more direct.
I think, but we're talking about when's the last time City's had an individual striker that's got 20, 25?
Wherever, probably.
And so they've done that where they've scored 100 goals and they haven't had that person that's scored that many. He's got 30 goals in him in just the way he can play. You know, people talking about him, Kels, as a low-touch striker. He don't need many touches. He's a striker, like Benty said there. He wants to go over the top. He wants to make the runs in. He wants to have his limited touches, just finish. He's not that striker that wants to come short and have touches. He's low touch, in the box, bam, in the box, bam. And I feel that ruthlessness is where I think they score more than 100. Especially if the rest of the guys raise their game simply because of what they've got around him. But he's going to be obviously taking goals from people because there's more people won't have to do as much as he's doing. Someone like Gundogan maybe won't score as many or something. Jack Grealish, I believe, needs to score more. You know, Mahrez, they all need to score more. If they all raise their game, because they're going to score a lot of goals.
When you look at the way they play as well with Haaland, he stretches the pitch. And when you give people like De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, even Grealish, that type of space, opposition teams are going to be like, well, what do we do? Do we squeeze up to the halfway line? No, because now you've generally got someone that can run in behind, he's got the pace, but he can finish. It's not like it's like a Timo Werner who's quick, gets in behind. When he goes through, you're a little bit, does he score, does he not, does he hit the target? You've got a genuine number 9 there that when he goes through, you're thinking, when he went through against West Ham, I went, it's a goal. Goal.
How important is it on that first weekend? Well, we judge you in the press, sometimes quite harshly, forgive us.
No.
Never forget. Never forget.
But how important is it to get that goal straight away?
It's especially when you've just come and he's come with a lot of expectation because like he's one of the guys they put him in the same category as Mbappe, you know, as the top. You know, then you mentioned Haaland and all the top. So he's coming with a guarantee. So this is why people were having such a laugh at the fact that he missed those chances. But like then this week, he's just shown, listen, he's the real deal. Yeah. He's the real deal. So we're going to see it, and now it depends on how ruthless City want to be and how much they want to go all the way through him. And you know what? It's going to come down to how much he wants to just go. I could see he's one of those. He could nick 40 goals in this team.
See, I also think that a lot of opposition teams, and I'll be watching this season to see if this is the case, will lose concentration because City will keep the ball for so long. There was a stage yesterday where they had 340 passes compared to just 80 for West Ham, which was just incredible. And if they lose concentration to such an extent that they switch off, that'll be the moment. And then it could be just one goal. And then after that, they're chasing the game. They open up at the back, bam again, second goal. That's what I think will happen a lot.
But that's when it turns into kind of a game of chess because if you're an opposition team, you go, well, do I go and press them? When the moment you go, okay, let's go and over commit and press them, they're through the press, they're at the back four. So I think given Haaland, I think he opens up the entire pitch now, because you can't really go and squeeze, because if they beat the press, then they just roll Haaland in behind.
Unbelievable.
And the question was whether or not it would change the way that City play. But from what you're saying, it's not changed the way they play. It's just giving them a different option if they find themselves in certain situations.
It's just giving them another bit into their arsenal, another weapon. And we're talking about a proper striker. So, if you're City, you've got to be very excited about that, because, again, coming off the 2 misses, and people then you just see the businessman come to the party. It's just like you feel like now it's going to be tough. To City, they should be very excited, the fans.
Do you know what's right as well? You said about the misses, and you probably would have been the same. He would have been saying to himself, well, the positive you take from that is that I've got them opportunities. Like, he was the one who reacted quick enough when I know he should have scored when he smashed it over the bar. And even the one where he went with the wrong foot, he's thinking, well, I've got these opportunities, so even though I missed them, at least I'm getting chances. So that's why, again, last week, he probably would have been working every single day, a little bit more concentration. Come West Ham, he was ready.
And the thing with him as well, he mentioned something, I saw an interview with him and Al, and his heading. Because I think that the first chance when he tries to do it with that left foot acrobatic one is because he doesn't head very often. Because he's a hybrid of a player. He's 6'4" or something. You know what I mean? He's quick, he's strong, but you don't see a lot of powering headers. It's, you know what I mean? So just imagine when he adds that to his game.
Yeah, I think it was 47 of his goals were with his left foot at Dortmund in the league, and 9 with his right foot, but very few, like you said, with his head. But I think as far as he is concerned, last season, lots of teams allowed City to have the wings. Didn't really bother, because they knew they didn't sling a lot of balls in. They didn't have that target man. Now they do. And for us, I think one of the big subplots of this season is going to be that race for the Golden Boot, because Kane will want to win it again 3 times already. Salah will want to win it. Son now 23 goals last season. He'll build on having Conte as his manager and then driving him to do it. Obviously, you've got Nunez, who's had a great start. Jesus, I know we'll get to all of these eventually, but I just think that subplot, every week now, it'll be a key feature of the Premier League, because everyone's... Last season, in the top 10, there were 2 orthodox strikers. The rest were all wingers and sort of auxiliary forwards, if you like. This time around, as you were saying, it's a throwback to the times when guys like you dominated. I remember, I think it was 97, 98, you, Les Ferdinand, Alan Shearer,
Coley.
Coley. I mean, they were so... This is almost like Premier League 30 all over again. But the fact is that that's what we will have this season, and that's what's going to make it such a fascinating subplot for us.
And look, it's only 1 game in, as we keep repeating, so we're not tying those blue ribbons back onto the Premier League trophy just yet for Manchester City. And if we're going to have a race for the title, we need the challengers to be at top form. We didn't see that from Liverpool, certainly in the first half against Fulham, but there was a big difference when another of these more traditional number 9s came on, which in Darwin Nunez.
Yeah, he came on live wire. I mean, I saw that from the Community Shield. And even pre-season, where I think, again, we tried to judge him after his first game. He missed a couple of chances. The next game he scored 4, but against Fulham, his movement and the timing of his movement, as I said, he's a throwback centre forward. That he knows his strengths, and that's getting them behind. He's already on the front foot there, anticipating Salah doing that. Brilliant. And it's a really, really good finish. But because his movement's so sharp and he anticipates a lot, he will get chances in that Liverpool team.
That's the thing, what you see with Liverpool is that when you've got... They haven't had a focal point, because we've seen how Firmino is. You look where he is again, he's right in the middle of the box again. It's something that I always say, and people say, well, that's quite obvious. It's not obvious to some people, because some player, for some reason, they don't get themselves in the middle of the goal. Again, you see him in the middle of the goal, and he is somebody, again, with the way that Liverpool play, Trent and Andy Robertson, he's going to get balls in the box, he's going to get chances, and he's another one that I'd like to see him start. I'd like to see him in there and starting, so I could see him for the whole 90, how he moves and what they're going to do to get the ball into him. Because once they see what he's doing, just like with Haaland, they're just going to keep feeding it into him. Because he looks like he's somebody that really does attack that box well.
Do you think he won't start because it will keep the pressure off him? Keep the guys that the team know, that the players know, and let him ease into this season so he'll be harder to read than he would be.
I don't know, Darren, simply because we know if he's not playing, how Liverpool are going to play, and what Liverpool have got him for is to show that they've got another way of playing with him. And I think that the sooner he gets in and starts playing how they want to play, then Liverpool are going to create more chances. They're going to play a different way as well, because you've got to wait for Firmino to come off. You've got to hope that Salah doesn't get marked like he did very, very well by Anthony Robinson.
But then the counterpoint to that is, say someone throws you one, last 20 minutes, you've got tired legs, tired minds, and you're able, with your movement, to take advantage of all of that. Because you looked at his movement when he came on, he was so razor sharp that he was able to find that space. And I just think early on, maybe that's what Klopp might do, so that he can get that confidence. Because if you look at the two finishes, and we were looking before the show began, both of them were back flicks. It's a kind of finish that you guys, when at your confident best, would try to pull off. And really, for an £84 million striker who needs to get off and running, you would have thought he'd be thinking about it, just get a classic finish, close range, no frills, no fuss. But it showed me that he's really confident.
Yeah.
He's in the zone, and I think for that reason, he might be a more dangerous weapon when he comes on, and he can take advantage of those tired legs and minds.
You can't pay 84 million and say you're going to have somebody who's got to come on and impact. I know what you're saying about maybe letting him feel his way into the Premier League, but what he gives and what we've seen already so quickly is how he attacks the box, and if they get the ball in, he's going to do it. So, me probably, Benny, I start him. I start him when Liverpool are flying and getting going, because I personally feel if he probably starts against Fulham, it's a different problem for Fulham. Getting the ball into him, people coming to support him, getting the ball in the box, because I thought that their centre halves played very, very well. They didn't really have anything to do to stop. So I thought that for that particular game, it may have suited him to start. I don't know when he's going to start him, but I'm starting to feel like I want him to start now.
Yeah.
I want him to start, especially if I'm one of the lads. You want him on there.
And presumably, if he looks at Haaland and Ireland after, he's like, I want to start.
I want to start.
Exactly.
I want to start.
100%.
But that's the thing, is because they're like you've been saying, Darren, that the fact that there are more of these sort of classic number nines is going to give the defenders all kinds of problems as they start to adjust to a slightly different way of defending, and so the race for the Golden Boot is going to absolutely fly, particularly at the beginning of the season when everybody's just starting to get into that. And Callum Wilson was on the
He'll be in the race for it.
Yeah.
If he can stay fit, Callum Wilson, he'll be in the race for the Golden Boot. But you're right, these traditional number nines, they're all getting off to good starts. Ivan Toney there with a really good finish, using his body well. I just think it's a throwback to now. I think it's a different way of playing now. You can't just solely rely on now your wide men getting the goals and the centre forward. Because I think for the last couple of seasons, maybe the centre forwards got away with it a little bit because their numbers are not really expected to be what they should be. Certainly when I was playing, you had to get around 20. Or you've not had a good season. But I think now we're seeing strikers get 9, 10 goals and people applauding them. But I think now this season with this traditional number 9, you're going to start seeing some high numbers with these centre forwards.
I thought what was good about that, and seeing all those clips of all those different strikers, is how you see the striker in there and the ball's getting ready to come in. The ball's ready to come in and there's someone in there ready to put it away, and that's what we're going to see a lot more of this season.
But does it not also highlight the teams who are missing that focal point up front? I'm thinking in particular, Everton-Chelsea game on Saturday was one in which you look at and think, there's no recognised. Raheem Sterling clearly is going to be a success at Chelsea. There were definitely signs that would happen.
Yeah.
But Everton have a real issue with strikers.
I tell you, when I done that game on Saturday, I was watching the game, and in so many occasions, guys, whether it was the fullback, whether it was the midfielder, right side, left side, they get the ball in a position, Iwobi, whoever, there's no one to hit. You know, and you know, I'm not saying that Chelsea were playing really deep or anything, but there's no one up against Thiago. There's no one up against Azpilicueta. There's no one for them to worry about. You can see everything in front of you. And you know, if Dominic Calvert-Lewin gets himself fit, then that's a problem. That will be a problem, because then you can get the ball into him, then people could go and support, and then you can start playing football in that area of the field. It's not happening for Everton. You know?
Because they didn't play badly in the game. It just wasn't. Yeah, but wasn't there.
Then it goes to a place. Then it stops here.
Yeah.
And like when you're Chelsea, especially you know, with all due respect to Thiago Silva, he's 37-year-old defender. He probably wouldn't want a Nunez or a Haaland, you know what I mean, Ivan Toney right up against him all the time, because those are the players that they don't want to play against. Those are the players who may be making runs, into channels. They don't want to play against that. So I believe, I'm quite pleased it's come back, Benty, simply because I feel that central defenders for a few years have had it very easy.
Yeah.
Very easy. They've not had to run out into channels. You know, you're getting these inverted wingers like Salahs and Manes. They're coming into your area, so you're waiting for them. Now we're going to see forwards running into channels and taking defenders into places they don't want to go to, and it's good.
The only one you'd probably say does it, and he still scores goals, even at I think 36, is Jamie Vardy.
Yes.
Which is why he's continued to keep scoring
Yeah.
goals, because defenders just don't expect it now. And with the Leicester team, when you watch them play, sometimes they don't even look. It comes to them and they just go
Whack.
over the top.
Yeah.
Because he knows it's coming, that's why he's continually scored goals. Even though he's getting older, he's still scoring goals. I think that will now return, as you said, with the likes of Haaland, Nunez, these guys, Gabriel Jesus. Because now it's like a throwback. They will start getting opportunities because defenders just don't simply expect it.
Yeah, do you think we'll see defenders learn to adapt to that more throughout the course of the season, or is it just the fact that their job is now much harder? So we're gonna see them at times.
Well, they're going to have to
struggling
defend
a
like they
bit,
used to do.
looking less
So
composed.
they're going to have to drop.
Yeah.
It's first and foremost, and that's where you're going to start to see like the likes of De Bruyne picking
So
up the
this
deep balls.
high line, obviously Liverpool, the kind of famous proponents of this high line, this high defensive line that they play.
Yeah.
Is that going to be not maybe a thing of the past, but something we're going to see a lot
Against
less
certain
of?
teams, it will have to be, because
Yeah.
you cannot be holding a high line against Haaland. Like I said, I keep mentioning the Community Shield because Liverpool done, and if they played it in when they didn't on a few cases, they would have totally exposed Liverpool. And that's what's going to happen. When you've got a striker that is willing to break, then the high line, it cannot happen.
No.
You're going to have to drop off. Then, like Benty said there, you've got De Bruyne and all those unbelievable players like Thiago and all those kind of players in midfields who are going to have time and space, and then you've got a real problem.